Good morning and welcome to Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Political Voices is a session of comments, interviews and analysis of current issues and how it affects and shapes the world around you. Today is Tuesday, the 24th day of September 2019, and for time check in the studio, it is 2 minutes past 9. My name is Alex Obodo. Today on Political Voices, our focus is on CBN's cashless policy. We're looking at the concerns, we're looking at the reactions. But first, we will take on the matters arising from the polity. 4 years ahead of the 2023 presidential election, politics of who emerges as the next president of Nigeria seems to be dominating the social media space, no thanks to political posters posted in some strategic parts of the country. Those whose posters can be seen in parts of Nigeria include the All Progressives Congress chieftain Bola Tinubu, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State, and the APC National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole. In Kaduna City posters, which read El-Rufai 2023, Mayaki for President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. These are various posters we're seeing, and of course the polity is heating up with the talk of 2023 elections. Moving ahead, the Nigerian government has selected 5 witnesses to testify against the detained publisher and activist Omoyele Sowore in his trial scheduled to begin today. The witnesses include investigation officers and banking officials. They are to give statements on Sowore's alleged treasonable offences instigated through the Revolution Now protest, which held in most parts of the country on August 5. They will also testify on findings regarding Mr. Sowore's alleged illicit transfer of funds. And finally, Justice Tanko Mohammed, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, has said that the judiciary under his watch will strongly hold on to the tenets of the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. He said this, that his administration will not tolerate disobedience of binding court orders. Mr. Mohammed said on Monday at a special session to mark the beginning of the 2019 to 2020 legal year. The event also witnessed the swearing-in of 38 distinguished lawyers newly conferred with the honor of senior advocates of Nigeria. Okay, those are the matters arising from the polity, but our main focus is on the CBN's directive on cashless policy. We'll look at the concerns and reactions. Remember, we are on different platforms on social media. We're on Facebook, 925 Dream FM. We are on Twitter. Don't forget, it's Dream 925 FM. And we're on WhatsApp. Do well to send us messages on 0902 0020 925. Stay with us. This is Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Our focus this morning is on the CBN's cashless policy. Some say bank charges, we call it different things. But there is, of course, a breakdown of what has happened since 2015 that this government took charge. Some people are looking at it from the point of view of lots of tax-related policies coming on board. First will be the fuel price increase. Second will be the electricity tariff increase, and then bank charges, and then value-added tax, and then online transactions are now getting their own charges. And all these things are tied to the policy of the government. And I'm joined on Political Voices this morning by Dr. Chinwikoba. He is the Chairman, Board of Trustees, Amaka Chinwikoba Foundation. Good morning.
Good morning, Alex, and good morning, listeners.
And also in the studio this morning is Mr. Aniche Ndodim Roland, ex-banker and financial analyst. Good morning.
Good morning.
Uh, Dr. Chunkoba, you've looked at a few of the things I mentioned, especially from 2015. It does appear that some people argue, in fact, there are experts arguing, even those in the financial field, they are saying that the policies are too soon and there are no palliatives. But first of all, let's know what your concerns are about the whole new bank charge saga.
Firstly, it will be important to give context to the hula about bank charges or the cashless economy as it were. If you recall, sometime in 2012, that was when actually it started, even though during Soludo era, it was part of his starting point agenda. But incidentally, he couldn't start that before he left the bank. So when Sanusi came on board, part of the first things he did was to do a study using the information generated by different banks. And in that study, it was discovered that not more than 10% of those who have accounts with banks withdraw up to 150,000 naira. And it was also discovered that over 192 billion naira were spent as cash handling charges. So having discovered that, what it means that 90% of bankable people or those who have bank accounts are subsidizing cost of cash handling for just less than 10% people who has accounts. So what did he come up with? The era of cashless economy came in. First of all, to reduce that high subsidy that the government, in quotes, the government is giving to the few people. Two, to reduce the high cost of cash management. Three, to reduce also the high risk associated with handling cash. And finally, to be in line with international best practices on cash economy. So in that respect, if you recall, then he introduced these policies, but not on a high rate, they say 250 and 150. And he abolished a lot of things, the cash in transit charges that was already in existence in those days. And one of the things he introduced that has remained, but most people never, bother to talk about, is that he stopped third-party withdrawals over 150,000 naira. If I give you a check and it's above 150, you can't cash it over the counter. You must pay it into an account. And put it in a bid also to increase the financial inclusion into the system. So, in answering your question, the policy has its own positives and negatives, and which we would discuss in the course of this program. I just decided to give a context.
Thank you for that. Mr. Adiche, Nnodem Roland, a lot of people argue that too many charges can discourage savings because the whole essence is for people to bank their money, but they deposit money banks sometimes in implementing these policies also lose customers in the process because some people will argue that why I pay all these charges, I should keep my money under my bed.
Well, it's a fraction of the percentage of people that are not coming to using the financial system. It's really small, although we have a whole lot of transactions that are taking place outside the financial system, which with the measures of the CBN, they want Nigerians to key into the financial system and transact their business through the system. And like he said, financial inclusion. It has the merits and the demerit, but I think the whole essence of it is the country is forging towards a cashless society, which should be supported. Although I have issues with the percentage of the charges, I think it's way on the high side. If you consider the whole lot of the total Nigerian environment, because there have been so much increases in charges and service fees. So it's like choking the Nigerian populace. So this is why I stand with them, and I tend to lend a hand. Okay, yes, I feel this pain. Yes, the policies of the government is good, but then the charges are a bit on the higher side. So I think we could take it gradually. I rather prefer a reduction to 1% and 0.5% for both withdrawals and deposits, so that it has a way of, it's like a palliative, I also have issues with even the financial industry too, because I've seen rightly, currently what I'm seeing, the trend is it's really an anomaly. Lending rates before we left was the prime lending rate was 17% plus a markup. It comes down to 22%. Presently, it is 27%, 25%. So it is completely outrageous. If you look at the financials of the banks right now, a good percentage of their income comes from treasury activities, whereas 50 to 60% of income from the banks will come from lending. So you could see that lending has come to, there's been a big decline in lending. And so these are issues I have, and you are now introducing another chart. So there's a problem. I can also recall that COT was removed during Sanusi's era, where it was brought back again with a percentage. So this is also an anomaly. So you can't charge COT, you're now charging 3% handling cash handling charges. It's completely outrageous, and the Nigerian populace has been pauperized to an extent. So I think there should be a halt, a complete halt to all these charges, because mind you, VAT is also coming in most likely next year, which we are projecting. So these are issues which is too much for the populace to bear, and I feel and I bear their pains.
All right. Dr. Chukwuka, do you think that the CBN is under pressure from two fronts, the federal government and the deposit money banks? Recall that some time ago, government implemented Treasury single account, and that had tremendous impact on cash flow into the deposit money banks. A lot of them lost some of their major accounts that were giving them liquidity. So do you think this is part of a response to actually give the banks some confidence by giving them something to hold on to?
When I provided a context of the issue, I wouldn't say it's to give the bank a safe landing or boost their system.
But they're going to benefit tremendously.
They will benefit tremendously. When my brother here spoke earlier in respect to reduction in rates, personally, I would prefer the stick and carrot approach. While you allow the withdrawal rate as it is now, but give an incentive for the deposit. Since what you are trying to do is to encourage financial inclusion, reduce cash handling charges, I would recommend, if I'm depositing money into the bank should be able, there should be a policy that should say, if I deposit social amount of money, I should be given an interest, not charging me.
Yeah.
And but in doing so, it must have some conditions. The conditions may be that you won't withdraw so if you put in that money, we are allowed to stay for so time. That is irrespective of whatever interest that may accrue if it is a savings account. In that case, it's a palliative in one way and also an incentive for people to start putting money into the banks. But for those who are withdrawing, my argument has been, as a person, even you that stay here, I can't remember the last time, or if you do it often, I don't know, you're a rich man, whether you withdraw to 500,000 per day. I can't remember. I don't do that, and I don't know who does, except those of them who are taking our money and not the rest of it. So if that is the case, I gave a context that is less than 10% people that are withdrawing this money, do huge amount of money. And as it stands, is when you withdraw, the charge is on excess of 500,000 if you are an individual. Say, for instance, you are withdrawing 700,000 naira. The bank will not charge you on 500,000, they'll charge you on 200,000, which is 700 minus 500,000. So that additional 200,000 is what the charges that has been proposed will apply on. And the charts and all that is good. For me, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the ease of doing business. If the charges are so high as it were, in the course of this program, it would be nice to look at the different charges that are there and how this will impact on people's ability to do business. Because whether we like it or not, it's affecting business. If everybody is in a business to make profits, and if you are not able to break even, that business will definitely crash. And also, it will have a dire consequences on the economy in the end. So, for me, in answering your question, whether we like to accept it or not, there's a pressure. The pressure to have more money, both for the government, more money for the banks, and more money for the executives of the banks. So it may not be spoken, but there's a huge pressure.
All right, Mr. Roland. Another thing, it's not applying to every city in Nigeria, especially the specific cashless policy from CBN. What is the reason behind not capturing most places? Some people are thinking that should have been captured. Some people argue that some regions of Nigeria seem to have escaped it practically. So what's the criteria for choosing which cities that will be the pilot or guinea pig cities, as it were,
No, let's
for the
not.
cashless?
I would not use the word guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Okay, see, there's been an analysis. There's been a trend analysis. CBN has the data of the volume of cash across the entire 36 states of the federation. Lagos, Anambra, I think Abia, Kano, Abuja. I do not know of Kaduna, I don't know, but I know there are major cities where the volume is high and the rest are paltry. So I think that's where these are the pilot states. These things will take place. So, but with over time, it's meant to spread right round because you still have movements of cash from states here and there. But there is a preponderance of cash movements from these states I just mentioned. So it's not like you say maybe these states are guinea pigs. No, this is the major. There's been an analysis.
So it's not a test run. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's not.
It's pilot.
It's a pilot.
Yeah, but not a test run.
It's a pilot. So we will not say, or because other regions are exempted, you say, okay, maybe there have been maybe preferential treatment. No, it's the analysis and the data is there. There are states that recorded high volumes in terms of cash transactions.
All right, Dr. Shukoba, I think you're itching to add something.
Yeah, in addition to what you have just said, for government policies to thrive, it must be embedded on people's acceptability of the said policies. I'm sure the CBN, the federal government, and the banks are also taking feedback from what the reactions of people. Part of the reasons why it was suspended in 2012 was for the same reactions from people. So I guess what they want to do using the pilot stage is also to take the feedback from people. So when they weigh the feedback, who knows what our brother here has proposed may happen. They might reduce the rates. They might also introduce what we've said here now, giving incentives for those who are depositing and all the rest of it. So in essence, in supporting what he has just said, I don't think he's done to deal with others and also exempt others. It must have been evidence-based, based on the empirical studies. Know that there could be some biases. We all are human beings. There could be some biases. When we discuss the issue of VAT, I tell people also, there are certain things you don't say on air. When we get to VAT, the day we discuss VAT, there are things I will say on VAT, which is an anomaly in a country this way. VAT, the way it's being structured is not really that good. But in respect to what we are discussing today, is based on evidence with little biases. We can't rely on biases.
Yes, there seem to be some kind of collision codes between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the central bank. Some experts argue that it does appear they don't speak with each other before going public with certain policies. Because when you look at the bank charges versus value-added tax, Mr. Roland, I'm coming to you, it does appear that some agencies of government who are connected in terms of function or coloration of their duties don't seem to talk with each other before implementing certain policies. Do you see any any truism in this?
No, I'm not saying any form of collusion. It's
Don't allow that to speak.
the bank charges. The bank charges are not for the charges are not for government. It's a charge. It's a charge which the customers bear, and is an income to the banks. And also, when the banks are evacuating those cash to CBN, the CBN also charges them. So it's separate completely from FIRS. FIRS is an income for the federal government.
That is true, but when you look at the implementation, these are federal government agencies, and one expects that if Federal Land Revenue Service is working on increasing value-added tax, that the central bank is supposed to be in the know, and when they come out at the same time, isn't it too much for the people? Isn't it too much?
I agree that there's a preponderance of introduction of charges to the Nigerian populace. But in terms of a collision cause between CBN and FIRS, I know it's completely different. I don't think they have their different reporting lines, they have their different mandates. So in terms of the charges, it goes to different it goes to different MDAs. So
Right.
there's no collision at all whatsoever.
Okay, before I ask my next question, Dr. Shokoba, you talked about biases. We would like to know what those biases are, because we need you to throw more light, even if it's a little.
You know, as an individual, whether we like it or not, for every of our decisions we take, we'll always have that biases. So some of those biases may be political, it could be social, it could be religious, it could be anything. But you can't remove sentiment from our actions as human beings. It's very natural. Even the way you're asking questions there on the studio, there may be some biases on the way you ask these questions. So it's a natural thing. Even in research, it's allowed. They will tell you that they allow for some biases. It's natural. So I'm not saying something out of the ordinary.
Okay then, but there are of course concerns. The National Assembly, especially the House of Reps, they seem to be, animated about the new CBN charges. Even with the VAT, they seem to have something to say about it. But one would think that maybe the Senate should be the ones stepping in, and they could be the ones who can make such intervention. Why are we not hearing from them and only the House of Reps?
Before I answer your question, I want to also contribute to the issue you raised on the CBN and FIRS.
Okay.
Like you said, both of them are institutions of the government. The FIRS work on the fiscal angle, the CBN is on the monetary angle. But whatever thing they are doing, all of them are working for the same large. Whereas, like you said, whatever thing that comes in is for the CBN and the banks. But the banks also pay tax. And as long as their profits are increasing, they will pay a minimum tax of 30% from that profit. And that profit also goes to the government. So it's also a means, for me, whether I want to accept it or not, the government has been running a deficit budget for long years now. And borrowing has started increasing again. It's ballooning. That's why I cry when we say debt to GDP is still low. GDP doesn't pay loan. It's revenue that pays loan. And our revenue has been shrinking. In fact, most of the loan we will take now is to fund even recurrent, not even capital. And that is a very bad situation for Nigeria. So Nigeria is doing everything to raise money from all angles, whether the environment is right or not. Get it and fund whatever thing we can fund. So having answered that question, respect the question you asked, if you see the two people, the House of Representatives are made up of younger people with vibrant blood and all the rest of it. While the Senate are older people, you might like to use the word more matured or tiring, So the way they will respond to issues, the way an old Kenyese responds to issues is not the same way a young man responds. I'm sure, without speaking for the Senate, maybe they might have been making some interventions, speaking with relevant agencies to see how these things will be dealt with. Let me say here also, the National Assembly does not have executive powers. whatever motion that may have been passed by the House of Reps is only adversary. And that is why you saw the CBN governor come out to say after that motion that they are still going ahead with this thing. The only people who can put a halt to this policy are just two persons, two institutions. The first institution is the CBN itself, by the CBN governor in consultation with the Bankers Committee and his board, and maybe by the president. Because the CBN governor, whether autonomy or no autonomy, is still responsible and accountable to the president. So, but like I said, they are also feeling the feedback of the citizens. I'm sure they read everything, they hear us speak. Know that there may be some adjustments. But I will also encourage the Senate, because they are representing us as well. And why the idea is to do what we have sent them to do. If the people are saying this is so hard on them, you need to change the situation. But one key problem we have as a nation is the problem of lack of consultation. Lack of consultation. You don't just throw a policy without consulting the people. That's why abroad you see town hall meetings and all that, where policymakers come and engage their people to get a buy-in for a policy. If there's no buy-in on any government policy, implementation becomes very, very problematic. But if you address the issue, like most people never understood the 10% issue I said of those withdrawals and all those things. I was on air the other day, 2 days ago, to speak on this issue. And people called in and said, we never knew about this things. So CBN didn't do the basic sensitization. National orientation agencies, I don't know whether they exist in also, are not doing the right things they are supposed to do to educate the populace on government policies and laws. These are their functions. So if I don't know what I'm going into, I can interpret it in diverse dimensions, which could create problems, even when that policy are something that will benefit me personally and the society at large. So
All right, this is Political Voices on 92.5, Enugu's Dream FM. This morning, we are taking a look at the CBN's cashless policy. In the studio with me is Dr. Chimukoba, Chairman, Board of Trustees, Amaka Chimukoba Foundation. And also here is Mr. Aniche Ndodim Roland, ex-banker and financial analyst. We'll take responses from those at home and those watching us live on Facebook and on Twitter. And our phone lines 0902 0020925 or 0809 8888 925. Hello, good morning and welcome. What's your name and location?
My name is Mike.
Mike, you're welcome. All right. Okay. All right then. Thank you, Mike. 0809 0902 0020925 or 0809 888895. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My good friend here.
What's the name and location, my good friend? You're welcome, Shima.
Thank you, my good brother. I think I want to, appreciate your progress there. You have spoken on the issue of the changes or monetary policy. Actually, I don't know if we listened to the former Indian governor how the traditional law of Kanu Tigres and the statistics. This particular policy of the state, or this very particular policy, started in 2012 under Soludo, but then Soludo did not implement it until when Salusi came. And what came up with a policy. I, as a Nigerian, man, I don't know if I have up to 500,000 in the bank right now. And I don't know how many Nigerians or even how many percent of Nigerians that has this amount of money. And look at that issue. They have, a stage for 100,000. They have a stage for 200,000. They are only targeting those who are dealing with billions that doesn't pay tax. You see, in London, it's very hard for you to handle £1. Very, very hard. That's our brothers who are in London every day. And that's why pound selling is very expensive. For here somebody will carry 8 million naira on his pocket, go to his pocket and see. So let's all spend some time and see. I think I appreciate this government and this policy. The central bank is an independent organ.
All right.
I think the divorce of Tapiana.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with policy. This policy has been there. Central bank governor told you people.
Chima.
That this policy has been there all the time.
Chima.
Why are we talking about it now?
Chima, thank you, but people will have to air their views too, as you have done. You've aired your own. All right. Hello, good morning. What's your name and location? Adonike, you're welcome. All right, Adonike, thank you for your call. Let's take a message from WhatsApp. Ajani Ifeanyi from Aguleri saying, does it mean our leaders have lost the feeling for humanity to generate a policy and put it into law regarding, regardless of how we feel? This is a big dictatorship. Okay, that's his point. Send us the messages as we go on. Let's take one message from Facebook. Michael D. Good says that decision is a daylight robbery. Please let the National Assembly not allow such to happen. If it happens, armed robbery will increase in the nation because many people will not save their money at the bank anymore. They will be keeping the money at home. That's where the robbers will now be invading homes. That's his opinion on that. And then another message on WhatsApp is saying the CBN policy is not mass friendly. What happened to where we have been what happened to the money that they have been collecting? They are not putting it to good use, and they have been it's talking about the revenue collected not being used for the right purposes. Okay, so one call Leonard on Facebook says this is a useless policy. The central bank should be more concerned on the value of the naira to dollar than bringing up a policy that is capable of afflicting more pains to the already painful experience of Nigerians. Another message from WhatsApp is saying, I'm glad National Assembly is making strategic efforts to foil this attempt to deprive Nigerians of their money. This is from Emmanuel in Nsukka. And We'll take some more phone calls after this message on Facebook. Ikemefuna Chimex. Hello, good morning. What's your name and location? All right, then, you're welcome. All right, then. Well, I don't. I'm sorry, your line is letting you down. Call us on 0902 0020925 or 0809 8888 We're discussing the CBN's cashless policy, reactions and concerns. And this one says, good morning, Alex and gentlemen in the studio. My name is Achumu Samuel. I'm reacting from Federal Polytechnic, Ida. The issue of the cashless policy is not encouraging at all. I think that some people will now start to keep their money at home. I think we'll come back to the studio because from the feedback, it does appear there is a disconnect in information. Just like you pointed out, Dr. Chuokoba, you talked about awareness creation. You talked about consultation. From the responses, it does appear that those who are actually making those comments might not actually be those who will be paying for those policies. So what should happen now? Because there is a information and knowledge gap. What should happen between now and whenever they want to really consolidate on the policy?
Usually I beg you also to say something now. You know that complaining. But as I was going through this CBN policy on charges, as I sat down there this morning, I saw something, and even me, as informed as I thought I was, I understood that the right thing has not been going on. The CBN policy on SMS charge says that for every text message that should be sent on each transaction must be one. What it means that you don't need to receive SMS that will say 15,000 and SMS that will say 52.5 kobo bank VAT and all that. All of them should be consolidated into one SMS. But that is not happening. Most banks send you a minimum of 2 SMSs for one transaction. And in some cases, you might receive 20 SMSs on one transaction. And they charge you for 4 naira on those transactions. And because we think 4 naira is small, nobody takes cognizance of distance. It's a good charge. So, and these are the ones that affect these people who are calling us now. But they are not bothered. They are not taking cognizance of it. And for them, 4 naira is nothing. But calculate 4 naira to number of transactions that happens in every bank per day, it runs into billions of naira. Having said that, as I said earlier on, the CBN, as a matter of emergency, should organize stakeholders events, not just at state levels, but at local government levels, to educate people on this policy. Number one. Number two, I said earlier, I'm wondering what the National Orientation Agency, is doing. Because part of their mandate is to drive down the policies of government, laws that have been signed to the masses. Most times you see a law that has been signed. For those of us who can read newspaper, you just read federal government just signed this law. The content of the law, you don't know. These are some of the duties that are enshrined in the mandates of the. They are not doing. So I'm encouraging a National Orientation Agency is that even at local government levels, they come to work the day they will come. At the end of the month, they take their salary. They should begin to do their work. This policy should start. There should be sensitization meetings at the local government ward levels by National Orientation Agency also. Thirdly, there should also be town hall meetings. FIRS has come up with their own. CBN has come up with it. You may need not to dissipate energy and resources. It could be a collective meetings where FIRS bring their own, CBN bring their own, or call for a meeting. I will save our scarce resources. Because if FIRS does their, CBN does that, it's still our money that's being spent. They can do all this together and do it, but it's very important that sensitization is deepened and expanded. Because our people need to understand what is happening. They don't know it.
All right then, Mr. Aniche Roland, when Dr. Chukoba was speaking, he raised some issues, and that's about the charges, because part of the cashless policy is that we're going to be experiencing charges, but there are charges already existing in the banking system. For instance, the card maintenance fee. Some people have argued about the card maintenance, and someone asked, what are they maintaining? The card is in my pocket. What is it they are maintaining in the card? Can you please explain to us as a former banker that what they maintain in the card? They have to charge you every single month for that.
You see, these are part of the issues. Like I said, I have issues with the current banking system. There are so many things that are anomalies. Maintenance is also one of them. I can go on and on and on. COT, which was removed, was brought back again. So these things are not happening in civilizing countries. Even according to Basel Accord, which regulates best practices, financial best practices, in terms of financial best practices, you don't find these things. And we now how are we ingenious in Nigeria that we're introducing some of these funny charges? See, long ago, I've always known COT is an abuse, is complete fleecing. So I just told you, even the idea of there should be something that should be given up, should like a concession to the Nigerian populace. The maintenance charges amongst them. COT too should be removed again completely. A reduction in some of these charges so that it's a palliative to Nigerians. So it doesn't all go well with me when I hear some of these things and I'm like, huh?
Okay. His response is also hitting at something. There seem to be opposites here. If the CBN seem to be targeting those who roll their monies in millions, but then if you are going to implement the palliatives, the question will be, do they really need it? Those who roll in millions, do they really need the palliatives? So how can we create a middle ground for those who might be caught up in the crossfire of those policies, which is maybe people who called in, and those who are not even aware that they need these palliatives? Dr. Chumukoba, how do we work it out and make sure those that are caught up in the middle of this policy don't lose out completely? They don't get blown away by the whirlwind of the policy.
It's important to restate this. Everyone is in business to make profits. I want to be balanced in this conversation. When you talk about the civilized nations, the last time we discussed ease of doing business, and when you check the ease of doing business, you see where we are this year, 146. Most banks provide their infrastructure to do business, and that is not what is obtainable in the other civilized countries. And yes, we agree that there are some costs that shouldn't be. But all they are doing is to grab everything to make sure they meet their daily expenses. And that is why the regulator comes in. My worry is that the charges are too many, which shouldn't be. But in answering your question where the middle people comes in, you see, access to credit is a big issue for us in Nigeria, which is as a result of these same people, 10%, people we are calling, most of them hide their money in gallons, saves in their houses, and spend. So if you give that incentive we are talking about, it will encourage them to bring in the money into the system, which will enable small business holders to access credit as well. But to encourage small business holders also to start banking because they have money, like you said, no matter how small it is. Most of them are afraid to bank because they said if you do online transfer, your money will laws, and which brings me to another issue. Why I was saying could be reason why the pilot is being denied. Cyber security is high in Nigeria. We don't have the infrastructure now to deal with that issue. Internet penetration is low in several areas. Even the USSD, there are areas you go in Nigeria, you don't have network to even do transfers, bringing their money into the system. There could be also a policy that says if you save money, you don't withdraw. Even as I was reading this morning, there's a policy that CBN gives that if you run an account for, you don't withdraw from that account within 4 times in a month, there's an interest you earn. I don't know whether banks are doing that. I read that. It's part of the things to encourage savings from our people, and for these even lower people. Most of these people we are talking about, those big people, rarely save this money because they don't work too hard the way me and you are struggling to get this money. Whether we want to accept it or not, it's money they are grabbing. That's why they could dig hole and bury it. Because the money you get, all my transactions, you want to see how I spend my money every day, you can go to my bank and see it. Because I really do cash transactions. I don't even have the more money, how much more to keeping them in the house. So, and I want to address those who say they'll start keeping money in the house. The risk is high, which is part of the reasons for introducing cashless economy. Since we started the transfer audit, house burgling has reduced. So if you say you want to do it, you still the one that will suffer it. The people that are sitting there will suffer it. The president will suffer it. The politicians will suffer it because they go out with like 20 mopua every day. In their houses, even when they are there, mopua are securing their environment. So I will encourage those who are saying they'll start keeping money in the house, don't do that. But also I encourage the government, as we have discussed, to bring in these kinds of incentives that we have recommended to attract others and encourage them to fall in line.
All right then, Mr. Roland, are you confident that if this policy is properly implemented, that it will benefit both the people and the economy of Nigeria?
Yeah, it's in the interest of the general populace that we go cashless because the benefits are bound from more especially there will be a surge in volume of transactions, the amount of money, the amount of balances in account balances, in bank balances. Banks can now lend and it could trickle down. So it's a long-term thing, but you see, we are currently in the doldrums. We're trying to come out from the doldrums, and it's like a child that is sick, and you're almost like giving him an overdose of your drug. You could drown or kill that child. So we should take things gradual because a lot of charges have been introduced, general environment, and so there's a normal attrition towards any form of charges by Nigerians, whether for whatever good, if it's positive or negative. So nobody wants to entertain it because we are presently struggling as a nation. So it's a bitter pill, which we need a form of palliative because it's tough for Nigerians. We must be frank about it. This is the general climate of the country. Nigerians are going through hard times. So any form of charges or whatsoever, even with a good intent, there will be a resistance and there will be a clamor. So we should take things gradually and look at the general environment. And even if you want to introduce, it could be a gradual thing so that we phase it out. It phases. So that's my own take.
All right. Dr. Chunkoba, as we wrap up, in implementing this policy, isn't it necessary to look at what we are prepared for? I'll create a scenario to ask this question. Before you produce an airplane, you will have a technological base to do so. Do you think we are prepared to go cashless? I mean, speaking wholeheartedly as someone who understands this sector, do you think we are ready for cashless policy in Nigeria?
You know, in my last speech here, you recalled me, though not very directly, mentioning some of the challenges. But I wouldn't say because we are not fully prepared, we won't start. The only way to start is to start. But like he said, it would be nice to do it in phases. Like they said, look at locations where the right infrastructures are already in place and commence. If you come to Enugu, they have statistics on internet penetration, data level, and all that. You start with those locations. But for locations where you don't have such facilities, keep it on hold. But with a caveat. And what is that caveat? Because we think, our people think very well. If you say you are doing it in Enugu and it's not happening in Albany, and there's a bank in Albany, some people can go to Albany and withdraw 20 billion naira. So the caveat will be, so for long as your account is not domiciled in that location where we have this waiver for now, you can't withdraw that amount. If you withdraw the same amount that is fall within the policy, the same charges will apply. And the government should make effort. Most times we give the government wants to do everything. That is the position of our PPP framework. Allow private people to get involved in this thing. Do concession rates, and let us get these things done. When the ATM started earlier on, they allowed private people to start mounting ATMs. At the time, they stopped again, and they say it has to be banks only, and it stopped. And that is why you have lesser ATM machines in some locations now. And also in Kenya, where they are doing cashless economy. It's not cashless economy in Kenya is not pioneered fully by the financial institutions. The mobile monies are there that are done in Pesa and all that. Why can't we do such things here? And if you do such things, these studies we are talking about will reduce. It won't be as much. So we need to introduce various platforms and mediums to get these things done. But in answering your questions, I won't say we'll start, but it has to be graduated or first.
All right, then. I have to thank you, Dr. Chiukoba, Chairman, Board of Trustees, Amaka Chiukoba Foundation. Thank you for insight on Political Voices today.
Thank you, Alex, for having us.
And of course, Mr. Aniche Ndodim Roland, ex-banker and financial analyst. Thank you for your contributions this morning.
Thank you.
On Political Voices. And a special thanks to my producer, Oke Odogu. My name is Alex Obodo. Stay tuned for the Dream FM News at 10. Good morning.
To this announcement, the Working Committee of the 2019